Hello, my wonderful friends. It's time for another story. A post to my own subreddit, which doesn't seem to happen nearly as often as I'd like. So, that's me hinting. I'm terrible at this. Either way, this is a story by our friend Prestigious Finger 86. I remember you, and I remember you have one hell of a story to tell us if I'm not mistaken. And I imagine you do, because this story is titled Bridezilla, The End, aka What the F Just Happened. Oh boy. I'm already excited. Here we go. Dear friends, fellow Celestial Herd members, wonderful Uncle Moonhorse, oh stop, and all you other wonderful people that dropped supportive comments in the past few stories. Thank you all for letting me get this off my chest as it unfolded, and helping me keep a bit more of my sanity as I rode the crazy train to its depot, where I could finally disembark and return to the roundhouse of rational thought. I thought that I would end this saga with a relieved sigh, and a nice growler of beer, and a leisurely type out of amusing little anecdotes of whatever antics Bridezilla would come up with. However, the week leading up to and the weekend of the wedding was so fucked up that I am currently typing this, feeling like I just crawled through the Shawshank Redemption pipe, and now I sit in front of my computer, half slumped with a 12-quart mason jar of moonshine cut with tropical punch, sitting at the ready. Oh God! Oh no! In all honesty, probably not too different from how many of us ended 2020. This wedding has left a similar feeling, and in the spirit of escaping 2020 as well, I've decided not to make this into a two-parter and give you all the whole story as I work on emptying this 3-gallon jar of moonshine. Please forgive spelling and grammar mistakes as the events of this chronicle and I inevitably go downhill. So when we last left our bridal party of derangement, Megan, the titular Bridezilla, Felicity, her cinnamon bun of a spouse-to-be, Angie, aka miracle worker, and recently graduated therapist, and the maid of honor, your narrator, in the person of myself. There was another bit of drama that just need not have happened, with Joanne, the tailor, quitting, making Felicity's dress because of Megan trying to shift blame about getting fabric in a timely manner onto Joanne and outright lying about it as well. I remember this. Oh boy. On a side note, because the whole situation was just so nonsensical to me, any other time during this debacle of a wedding planning, when Megan started some drama, there was some benefit to her that she was trying to get. Be it the sword fight or anything else that she was told not to. But in the case with Joanne, there seemed to be no benefit to have. There was no argument with Joanne, even if Felicity had dropped the ball a bit in taking too long to get her fabric. There was no reason to jump on the defensive. So, readying my best autodidact theories, better known as armchair opinion, but sometimes I like to sound smarter than I am, though usually the best way to get through compromising situations is to look a bit stupider than you really are. That's my professional edge you just came after. I came to the conclusion that Felicity was feeling bad about the gaffe with the fabric. Felicity was very on edge about the cost of said fabric, and she was trying to pay for it herself, rather than getting it from the wedding budget or simply taking Megan's offer of letting her cover Felicity's half of a few of the bills that month so she could have the extra cash. Combine that with Joanne needing to get a hold of her about when she was going to get it, and I'm guessing it set off Felicity's depression a bit. Ow. Felicity had come from an abusive home and a relationship where she was screamed at and blamed for everything. Oh, jeez. I think that's what made Megan think that she needed to shift the blame to make Felicity feel better, essentially saying it was someone else's fault and that she wasn't to blame. Which is kind of the right idea in the complete opposite direction. Instead of shifting blame and going into the "it's not my fault" trope, and ultimately putting her back in the victim role, Felicity should have been told that no one was mad at her, no one was yelling, and there was absolutely no conflict. She just needed to do the thing. Not all disagreements mean that everyone hates you and is going to empty the missile silos on you. In other words, don't take it so personally. And I know how hard that can be. I went through that myself, and getting out of a depressive, everyone hates me mindset, especially in times of stress, is no easy task. Yeah, I relate to that. I've definitely been there myself. Had a lot of that in my past, and it definitely takes a lot to kind of get through that. It sounds silly, but a lot of positive reinforcement does actually help. But yeah, it's one of those things that you kind of have to push through and learn, and it can be very difficult to do. What helped me personally was to stop thinking of myself as victimized and helpless, which made me realize that not everyone hates me and just puts up with me because of whatever reason. I know very much that coping mechanisms are not a one-size-fits-all type of thing, but sometimes when it gets a little out of hand, a tiny bit of tough love may go a long way, even if, much to the shock of the pull-yourself-up-by-your-bootstraps kind of people. Depression cannot be cured with a bottle of scotch and a boot at the ass. Yeah. Definitely, self-medication is not the best option. As a side note here, Joanne gave me an insight on this as well, and after the wedding weekend, we can safely say that Megan was mainly concerned about her image more than anything else, being seen as the perfect innocent victim, crying so many crocodile tears mixed alternatively with bursts of fabricated righteous indignation that I didn't need to keep up with the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial at all because I had a real-life demonstration. Oh my god. Check that first box for narcissism. I'll put in a graphic. I'm not going to put in a graphic. I might put in a sound, a weird sound, right about here. Our next stop on the crazy train, because I love an overextended metaphor, was rose petals. It was the week of the wedding. A few days prior, Angie had been contacted by Megan with a desperate need for rose petals. The last and greatest idea she had, which of course to her meant that Angie had always known about it, and it was something Megan had always wanted. In the case of the rose petals, Megan decided that she just had to have a send-off where they would be showered with rose petals as they retired for the evening. I, frankly, would have encouraged Megan to insist on pearls rather than rose petals. It would have kept with her impression that she was a princess to be carted off, and I'm a pretty good shot with improvised throwing weapons. Alas, that axes are not considered traditional wedding adornments. Anyway, as it goes, poor Angie once again had the unpleasant job of calling up Megan with a few minor concerns. Like, who the hell did Megan think was going to clean up said rose petals after they had their send-off? The venue stated that anything thrown at them other than on the lawn was going to be cleaned up by them. And as sure as there are tantrums to Bridezillas, Angie and myself certainly weren't going to be cleaning them up either. Angie vented to me how she had to listen and to talk Megan down for 45 minutes while she literally cried and screamed about how we had talked about this idea of a send-off with flower petals. Again, another lie because Angie had her notes from the meetings, and the only flower petals discussed were the ones for the flower girl. Oh, fun. But since it was something she wanted, for all of 10 minutes, Megan just had to have it, or it would be the end of her vision, the compromising of the quality of the wedding, and indeed would see Cthulhu rise from the sea and bring tentacled doom beyond the dreams of any hentai fan. Never mention how much I like the way you write things. But depending on one's personal preference, that may or may not be a bad day. Oh my. Though at this point, I think I really would have preferred to take my chances with the sleeper of Relay, because everyone loves Cthulhu. And I'm pretentious like that to use a Lovecraft reference. I'm actually rereading some of those books, so I totally get that. In the end, Angie talked Megan down to having the rose petals, but having them be thrown at them at the end of the ceremony when they walked back down the aisle together. Since the ceremony was outdoors on the lawn of the venue, the owners and staff would rake them up afterwards as general site maintenance. I'm sure that the compromise just barely passed muster with Megan, but she went on to planning for said petals. Getting some calculations off the internet, Megan came to the conclusion that we would need about 6,000 petals for her purpose. I decided not to even argue about how calculations for this works. I poured enough concrete in my professional life to rattle off volume calculations faster than Megan could try gaslighting techniques, and I can tell you that no one sits there and literally counts exact numbers, and who the hell did she think she was going to literally count flower petals like that? Yeah, that's a little weird. But I'm pretty sure Megan had visions of little bluebirds flying the prettiest roses over the garden fairies that would gently shake the petals off of each and every rose into a gilded music box that played their wedding song before giving the petals a sprinkling of pixie dust and a pep talk before being sent off to her wedding. I'm not even joking when I say that. You know, the sad part is I actually believe that. Yeah, I'm at that point too, dude. When Megan contacted me on Monday, the week of the wedding, while I was at work too, it was to tell me that she had dropped the ball on ordering the petals. She asked if I would go down to my local farmer's market that also does floral and pick up some petals. Now, with several months of Bridezilla experience to my name, I normally would have told her that I couldn't do that, and she'd have to deal with it. I honestly should have told her this, no matter what, because of all the crap Angie and I had been through, and make her deal with not getting her way on a stupid last-minute idea she just couldn't live without. This, however, would also mean dealing with the weeping, wailing, blown-up phone, rising sea levels as Cthulhu re-emerged from the depths to answer his chanting cults. They must have been chanting about rose petals. On the practical side, I had also taken the task of getting the programs printed out a week before so Angie wouldn't have to, and taking some off of her plate as she had 2 dresses to finish, plus everything that goes into coordinating a wedding. My God. Megan had paid me the $120 back promptly the next day, having gotten a loan from an out-of-state friend. We'll get to that poor man later. To help her cover wedding costs, so I agreed to the petals, saving Angie and myself the drama, tears, and baleful cult chants. So I went to my local place, and went to the floral department. As I suspected, they don't sit there and count out petals for the 6,000 that Megan said she needed. They just fill a bag with them and send you on your way. Also, for such a big order, they needed at least a week's notice before they could fill it. It's almost like fresh flowers are one of the harder things to coordinate because of the current supply chains being backed up, and getting the timing right so said flowers can be arranged and not wilt is also a time-consuming job. Something that shouldn't be left to the last minute because someone decided she would just die without this last-minute idea. Yeah, imagine that. People working in time frames. Crazy shit. The store, fortunately, had a cooler with ready-made flower arrangements, plus a few boxes of random rose petals. I managed to grab about 6 of them that were roughly the size of takeaway boxes. I had a convo with Angie, and we both agreed that it was what Megan was getting, and she would just have to deal with it, along with the 1 random box of pink petals, the 5 boxes of white ones. If she complained, we were going to say those were for the flower girl. After I checked out, and the petals were all bagged up and in my truck, I sent her a text that I had the petals, and the total was $60, to which she replied, "Is it okay if I pay you back after my paycheck on June 2nd? I really should have known better by now. But I had been paid back for the cost of the programs promptly, and I had thanked her profusely for doing so, as I told her that I was the only one working at the moment in my household, and it's not an easy thing when you're paying a mortgage, daycare, and all the other bills that come from having a 2-year-old on one budget. Holy shit, dude. Yeah, I imagine. Not to mention, it was the end of the month. Weddings on Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. And I had everything saved and budgeted to make sure that the bills were due on the first of the month were ready to go. So no, I could not wait until June 2nd to be paid back even the relatively small amount of $60, because a budget is a budget. It does not allow for last-minute rose petals that a Bridezilla has already admitted to dropping the ball on. The worst part is that I may have been willing to work with her if she had just admitted in the first place that she wouldn't be able to pay me back until next week. At least that would have been honest and less slimy, because I'm more than certain that she had it planned out that way, hoping that I wouldn't have any other choice than to accept it, and I had already bought the petals. She didn't take into account that receipts are a thing, and I could very easily return them and get my money back. Though I didn't threaten her with that, I did tell her that I couldn't wait to be paid because of the budget reasons stated above, and she went with her usual first tactic, the guilt trip. I guess I'll have to use my credit card. I'm majorly overextended because I've had to pay for most of the wedding by myself. I might actually not have enough right now for the mortgage to come out of the bouncing my credit card. It's almost maxed out. It's almost like weddings are really expensive and you shouldn't be wasting money on goofy shit. I'm just saying. Given my own financial state, I had very little sympathy for this, and not so much from knowing better when dealing with Megan's histrionics, but from the sheer lack of fucks to give, I grey-rocked her for the rest of the day. I mean, I do have a toddler, and it's not like they take up a lot of your time and attention anyway, right? So about 10 p.m. that night, I get a notification that payment had been sent to my account for the $60. So after a Red Bull, and hoping to get those wings to fly far, far away from this whole mess, I messaged Megan back telling her that I'd gotten the payment and thanking her for it. She replied, I had to pull the last 130 out of savings, used 50 that was supposed to be for the honeymoon, and Felicity borrowed 100 from her boss, so that's all we would have enough for the mortgage, enough to pay you to make sure I didn't have a negative balance when the mortgage comes out. Again, it's almost like when you do shit at the last minute, and you don't budget for it tends to fuck you over, huh? Imagine that. Again, I left it at that with even less fucks to give. It was almost like this was all a last-minute idea that she didn't have the budget for. Yeah. I commiserated with Angie, and we both held on to our asses with both hands as the weekend of the wedding approached. That week as well, I went over to Angie's to help with the dressmaking and hear her individual woes of fitting Megan. Megan had, of course, disdained a ridiculous custom dress with Angie, with a full skirt, train, corset top, huge sleeves, sparkly crystals, and an obscene amount of lace. The lace being used as an overlay to the gown, and the train was made of lace as well. Dear God, that sounds just insane. Angie had to hand cut, hand lay out, and hand sew at least 10 feet and 10 tiers of lace to construct that train. Oh my God. It was breathtaking, and I'm just sorry that something so gorgeous was wasted on Megan. When Megan saw that bit of amazing tailoring, the first thing she said was, I can see a little more white on this side than the other. You're gonna fix that, right? And this is where you make sure that your lace and your tailoring skills are really, up to snuff. Because you take that train, and then you strangle this fucking psycho. Because holy shit, dude, if you spent that much time on it, and someone's first comment is just a bitch about it, I may have to kill them. Yeah, no, fuck that. That's insane, dude. That is fucking crazy. And it's looking more regal than Elven, I'm sure about it. Oh my God, stop being an ass. The dam was almost done, and there was a week left. Just typing that, I had to take a hit off my mason jar. I think I will also be taking a hit from an herb that grows on God's green earth as well, because I think the situation counts as needed for medicinal purposes. I mean, if it keeps you from strangling someone with their own wedding train, I believe that counts as a medicinal purpose. And if it doesn't, fuck them. I mean, right? Just fuck them. You need it. Angie had to do the final fitting to get everything done in literally 2 days, and Megan couldn't even be bothered to show up on time. They were over an hour late because we had trouble getting up. Trouble getting up in the morning. Tell that to Angie, who had been burning the candle at both ends for weeks, and Megan couldn't be bothered to show up on time by setting an alarm? Megan had also showed up for 2 regular dresses that a seam had come loose or such, was asking Angie if she could fix them on top of finishing both of their wedding gowns because she really wanted to take them on her honeymoon. Almost 40 years old, and she had not grasped the concept of threading a needle and putting in a semi-straight line of stitches. She claimed it was because she didn't know how to sew a straight line. Bruh, I know how to sew a straight line, and I taught myself. You just gotta, focus. It's not the worst thing in the world. Are you gonna mess it up? Probably the first time, yeah, but that's why practice. Or read a tutorial, or watch a how-to video on YouTube, or maybe even just remembering how Granny used her pincushion. Yeah, those are also options. But when one is trying to cover up their lazy selfishness with a mystique of helplessness, you really need to go all in and be such a damsel in distress that every fedora in a 10-mile radius suddenly tips of its own accord as the magnetic pull directs all the fedoras due milady-wards. So to give a bit of a timeline, the wedding is on Sunday, the bachelorette party on Saturday, and the rehearsal is Friday. The venue was about an hour from where I live, and about half an hour from Megan's house. So Friday night, we all get to the venue, do the rehearsal. A few couldn't make it, either due to work or obligations or COVID, but we're able to get the groundwork down for it. The ceremony was rather ridiculous in my opinion. At nearly an hour long, it contained a Christian ceremony and sermon, a pagan hand fasting, Celtic wedding vows, a ring ceremony, a Christian hymn, a sand mixing ceremony, a rose ceremony, lighting a Christ candle, and a Viking mead cup ceremony, followed by a Christian benediction. Holy shit, I would have left after the first one. Nah, dog, that's insane. Meanwhile, we're all dressed like elves from Lord of the Rings, complete with the ears. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to picture all of this, and it's... My God. Okay. Now, you may have noticed that, in fact, many of these things are not like the other, but the random hodgepodge of confusion seemed to be keeping with the theme of this whole debacle. I tried my best to give the dinner afterwards a miss, but ended up going to Megan's house for it, and that's where I ran into the next bit of fuckery. Oh boy. To refresh the background, Megan and Felicity, though I'm not honestly sure about Felicity on it, are part of the polyamorous community. I don't get it myself, but you know what we say around the moon cult, as long as you ain't hurting nobody, you do you. Very true. But that caveat was thoroughly broken, as I was about to find out. Oh no, oh here we go. At the rehearsal, Megan was being really cozy with what seemed to be a random guy. Lots of hand-holding, canoodling, and normally I wouldn't think much of it with this poly couple. But it seemed odd to be making goo-goo eyes at someone other than your spouse-to-be in 2 days' time. At a time like this, when I also noticed that there was a distinct lack of canoodling with Felicity. Oh... Yeah, that's pretty fucking uncomfortable. The fact that Felicity was more than usually quiet, barely cracking a smile, and always on the verge of bursting into tears, didn't help that odd feeling that I was getting. Yeah, wow. I'm not familiar with the rules of polyamory, but I don't think that someone should be bursting into tears 2 days before the happiest day of their life. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that. I don't know all the rules either, but somehow that seems a tad fucking off. A little weird. Little, kind of suspect, as the kids say. It turned out that this guy, Aaron, was Megan's new partner in their poly relationship. Felicity was nearly in tears all night because they had made an agreement that they wouldn't start looking for other partners until at least after the wedding, as it was a day that was supposed to be just about them. Oh, fucking classy. And this is where the disgust officially begins to start. It's one thing when an asshole is ignoring my boundaries with the sword fight debacle. I have the capacity to walk away and sever those emotional and social ties with little to no fallout. Felicity, however, did not have such a luxury, being in a relationship and vulnerable because of mental health issues from past abuse. Yeah, that's pretty fucked up that she would just do that to her, knowing that she had all these problems. Like, that's... getting that anger. There it is. When I was able to get a quiet minute with her at the rehearsal dinner, I got the full story of who Aaron was. Megan had flown him up from Texas, of all places. We're near the Canadian border for perspective. Holy fuck. To be at the wedding, I guess that's where the rest of the money went, so she couldn't pay me back for the petals. So, let me see if I get this straight. It's her wedding. She's marrying this other person. And instead of properly budgeting for said wedding, she spends some of the money on like a random booty call boy to come up from Texas, of all places. Huh. Well, ain't that fucking interesting? And that she was crying and upset because of the agreement to not look for partners till after the wedding. I told Felicity that this was something that could not wait, and she had to sit both of them down and talk this out. I may be a boring vanilla monogamist with a blue-collar job and an exclusive heteronormal marriage that's been going strong for 7 years as of May. Oh, congratulations. But like Moonhorse said in the last installment, I can still have fucking empathy. And just being a decent fucking human being had me saying an agreement in a relationship is an agreement. No trying to find loopholes or weasel around it. Poly or not, this is not an okay thing to do to your partner that you supposedly care about. And frankly, this would be a deal breaker for me because how are you supposed to trust someone that tries to find a loophole like this 2 days before the wedding? Fucking thank you. Yeah, this is really kind of fucked, dude. This is extra not okay. I get it. Alright? You're poly, that's your thing. And that's fine. You can do that. Hell, a lot of people do that, have wonderful, successful, very happy relationships. But this shit, that's not okay. You can't just do that after you specifically said you were not going to fucking do that. And then, right before the wedding? Are you serious with this shit? Megan's explanation, according to Felicity, was that this wasn't breaking their agreement because she and Aaron weren't official, meaning they weren't having sex yet. Speaking as someone who is basically used as a toy between a couple, Scumbag 2.0 and his wife, they would be very cute and affectionate between one another in front of me quite often when it was just us, while I would have to sit and see them flaunt their relationship, and absolutely no kind of affection was shown to me, but plenty of belittling. Yeah, that guy's a fucking douchebag too. Throwing it in my face that I didn't have what they did, while they were keeping me isolated without my knowledge, making me feel left out in the cold by everyone, because there was something wrong with me, so I had better just take what was thrown my way by them and just put up with it. That is what I saw being done to Felicity. Yeah, that's pretty fucking evil. I gotta be honest with you. Nah, dude. Fuck. What's worse, being physically cheated on or being told that it's alright because of some weird relationship rules and the person you're supposed to marry in 2 days being kissy and cuddly with someone else, but it's okay because you're not official? It may not be official. That doesn't make you not a douchebag, because you're a fucking douchebag. Just saying. My urge to vomit was high, but acting as Felicity's cheerleader did give her the confidence to confront Megan about the situation, but I don't think it got resolved. I had to eventually go home to my own family that needed me, and as much as I would have liked to have told Felicity to pack her bags and come with me, the hardest part was telling myself I told Felicity what I was seeing, how it wasn't okay or normal as far as I understand poly relationships. They shouldn't be an excuse for abuse. It's never excusable. Exactly. And that Felicity is an autonomous being and has to make her own decisions. The reason I stayed in my own abusive situation was because I was so brainwashed and gaslit that I couldn't see the situation for what was on top of not knowing what they were doing behind my back, since none of my so-called friends ever told me what was going on. It makes me of the mindset that not telling someone what you see about their situation makes you just as guilty as the abuser. So I had to be satisfied with the fact that I followed my morality as far as I could without physically dragging her from the situation and not getting involved as a mediator. As I learned from the Queen of Foxes and her fucked up mother, I am not qualified to do so, and my own mental health won't allow for it. At some point, you have to stop setting yourself on fire. That is very well put. Thank you very much for saying that. Holy shit. Again, I'm sorry that you went through such a horrible thing, but that was incredibly well put. To my disgust, Megan came up with, "Well, you're gonna have to trust me," line, and Felicity accepted it. Alright, bruh. Alright. I see you. Don't worry about it. I see you. Checkbox 2 for narcissism. Doesn't matter what she agreed to with her partner, Megan wants it. Felicity must have misunderstood. And that was just the rehearsal. There's still 2 more days to get through. So the next day, Saturday, it's Bachelorette party. Oh boy, here we go. I had planned for a day at the spa, followed by dinner and a wrap-up evening at a strip club. This is where I need to introduce Jason, aka the Godfather, aka the bankroll behind all this. I talked with Jason a few times over the phone, he was from out of state, and we hit it off. He's an exceedingly generous man that wants nothing more out of life than some kindness and some time to himself. As a fellow homebody married to a hermit, we understood each other and got along right away. This also means that he's the kind of man that takes a lot to piss him off, but if you manage to fuck up with him, you have majorly, and I do mean majorly, fucked up. The longer the fuse, the bigger the explosion. Jason had opted to do the spa with us and then go to the venue to have his me time and cook something for us to munch on after the evening was over. Angie and I both thought that that was kind of weird given that we were going to have dinner at the spa and we're having an early night to begin with because of the wedding being the next day, so the idea was not to get completely shit-faced, but Megan insisted that having something to eat at the end of the night would make sure that we had something to eat to help sober us up after. Okay. That's not how sobering up works. Yup. Drinking more booze than your liver can break down is what makes your blood alcohol rise and makes you drunk. Thus, you need to wait for your liver to catch up. It's just science. But since when has logic been a factor in this whole trash fire? Water also helps. Not with the sobering you up part, but, getting rid of the hangover. It's dehydration. You basically are suffering dehydration. Drink a lot of water. In general, not just if you're just... Water's good. Anyway, water break while I'm at it. That goes for you too, chat. Drink water. Spa day and dinner go well, relaxing and fun, and I was just starting to think I might be able to get through it. Maybe even have some fun. Spa, dinner, drinks, and titties. Sounds like a surefire setup. Even Aaron came along with us to the dinner and strip club, and maybe my job was to keep them from getting too familiar. Or at least keep them from getting drunk and shagging in the bathroom, as per request from both Felicity and Angie. Angie was giving dinner a miss. She had too much stuff to finish, and Megan and Felicity were doing the not seeing each other 24 hours before the wedding. I will say right now that there is no way I can be a fair judge of Aaron's character, as I was far too close to the situation, and biased, to give any benefit of, anything. It's hard to find a doubt when you see everything unfold right in front of your face. The only benefit of a doubt I can give him is I doubt the common sense of someone who comes up from Texas within 90 miles of the Canadian border and brings no money along. None. At all. Really. Interesting. Even if your ticket, bed, and board are all covered, I think it's reasonable to suspect that you are more than likely going to run into a few expenses along the way. Yeah. Maybe that's my Midwest sensibilities. The same drive that won't allow me to leave home without a sweater, sunblock, and an umbrella, and won't allow me to throw away cottage cheese containers because Tupperware costs more than cottage cheese. Midwesterners part with money slightly less readily than tigers part with their teeth. I mean, you're not wrong about that. I also do that, because if you're given a free plastic container that you can store leftovers in, you're going to throw that away because why? I don't give a shit if it's got a picture of fucking ham on it. You just peel the sticker off, clean it real good. It's fine. Don't be dumb. It's free. Like, for real, though. But I also doubt the motives of someone coming into a poly relationship with a couple that's getting married in 2 days and not taking all partners into consideration. Yeah. I may be on the outside looking in, but I know it takes at least two to tango. I didn't think anyone could be this involved, and it being 2 days before the wedding, and watching one partner bursting into tears over them being there, and not get just the shadow of a thought, the tiniest prick of an inkling, of suspicion so sneaking it could have been trained on the Sneaking Suspicion College of Assassins, or maybe just David Mitchell asking, "Are we the baddies?" to think that maybe this is a bad idea to try this relationship, possible relationships, right now. Yeah, I kind of have to agree with you on that. Like, even if you're going to assume that this dude is, he doesn't know everything. Now that you're here, and you kind of sit... Like, what did you think the dress rehearsal was for? Like, it's pretty obvious something's fucking going on. At that point, the proper course of action is just to be like, I gotta go, bruh. And just back the fuck out. Okay? I get it. You're open to a lot of things. You're poly and you don't have a problem with being, with multiple partners. But if this is the situation, come on. You know that ain't right. Anybody with half a brain knows that ain't right. When we get to the strip club, we order our drinks and start relaxing. And I get something innocuous enough to give me some stress relief, but not strong enough to do anything, but genuinely think I may have had a shot with Chris Evans if somehow given the opportunity. Like maybe we got lost in the frozen tundra, and I was being chased by wolves, my house is the only viable shelter. Both concepts are equally like, yes, I ordered a Cosmopolitan. That's fine. I really like your way with words. We're roughly 45 minutes in, and I get a call from Angie, the other maid of honor. April had just been in a car wreck. Oh, God. All we knew is that she was in the hospital, and her partner, Megan's roommate, was in tears along with Felicity, as April is a good friend of hers. Megan got on her phone to Felicity, not to tell her how horrible the situation was, and that she was coming home straight away. It was that she was going to send Jason from the cabin to pick her up and take her to the cabin so she wouldn't have to be alone. What? When Megan finished her conversation, I was able to have a conversation and say, hey, Felicity's really upset. I think you should go be with her tonight. Megan answered with, I really need this night out tonight, though, and I need some time to relax. Okay. Bro. The person you're literally marrying just found out, like, their best friend was in a fucking car accident and needs your help. Like, the fuck are you doing? Like, for real. This is how you're gonna start your marriage? I mean, I ain't gonna say divorce. I'm just gonna think it really fucking hard. You know what I'm saying? I think I felt the neurons in my frontal lobe start to disconnect as the situation was not computing. Again, I told her that I understood that she needed some time to unwind from all the wedding planning. God knows Angie and I fucking did. But this was an emergency. Yeah. There would be other parties, and it didn't mean that we couldn't do this all again another time. If she wanted, we could stay for about an hour, as it would take that amount of time for Jason to pick up Felicity and be back at the cabin. She could have a bit of time at the club, and we were going to be having an early night anyway. She could still be there for Felicity. Megan told me that she would think about it and promptly stomped off, declaring, my night's ruined! Really, bitch? Really? Someone got into a car accident and is in the fucking hospital, but your night's ruined? Really? You don't sit the fuck down, I swear to God. This is about the time that my face became replaced with the blue screen of death. A problem had been detected, and my brain had been shut down to prevent damage, because how was a reaction to such news not, oh my god, is everyone alright? I need to get to my distraught soon-to-be spouse and make sure she's alright, but also I found myself in a situation. We had all carpooled with a designated driver, and my vehicle was still at the venue. I had images of being dumped at the bar, with no way home, and facing expensive cab fares, as I had no friend in the close vicinity I could easily walk to in the middle of the night. A few days later, when commiserating with Joanne of the dress debacle, I learned how many friends I had that would have come and picked me up in an emergency, which was both comforting and shame-inducing epiphany. But like I said, blue screen of death had replaced my thought process because I could not comprehend this level of selfishness in a person, especially the literal day before their wedding when you're supposed to be on cloud 9 with your new spouse thoroughly enjoying the overdose of dopamine and admiring the butterflies the other person gives you when they look at you with the puppy dog eyes. Yeah, it's almost like you just fucking gave up on all that, huh? It's almost like she just, nah, I'm done. What the actual fuck? Like... Back at the table, Angie texted me asking me what the plan was and where we were, if we were planning to go back to the venue, go to Megan's house, or if we're still at the club. I texted back the truth. Megan had arranged for Felicity to get a ride to the venue for the night. We, however, were still at the club, as Megan didn't want to leave yet. And that was the final bridge too far for Angie. Megan got a call from Angie, thoroughly and rightfully chewing her out, about not being a supportive partner when the other was in need, and just how could she think of anything other than Felicity and their mutual friend April, whose condition we had no information on. We're in an emergency, and all she could think of was her party. Yeah, that's the part that fucking kills me, is all you know is that your friend was in an accident and is in the hospital. You don't know if it's something like, oh, you know, it's minor. She, like, I don't know, hit her head, but it's not bad. It's like a bruise, or sprained a wrist. Or if she's in fucking intensive care. Does none of that come through? Do you not think about anything? Really? Holy shit, bruh. After that conversation, Megan was breathing fire. I come back to the table and screaming about how Angie thought she was a bad partner, and so I don't get titties and get to get drunk because Felicity's upset, and it's making me look like the bad person. I'm not! Bitch, yes you are. Yes you are. Right now? Yeah. Yeah you are, though. I kept my silence in the matter, which other people enabled her, telling her to fuck the situation. Tonight was her night. Oh my god. I'd only said that I had already given my opinion. Megan would do what she wanted. After Megan had stomped off to the bathroom, I was fielding calls from poor Jason, who was also rightfully asking where the hell Megan was. I told him the situation and that I couldn't make Megan do anything, as I had no vehicle and was kind of stuck. Again, BSOD, taking over. understandable. I freely admit that I have a tendency to choke in these situations, because honestly, I can't think of what to do. If I had had a vehicle, I would have left right then and checked out how both Felicity and April were doing. Angie was also so pissed off with Megan that she told Megan that there was no way that their friendship could be okay after all this. I mean, honestly, I don't blame her. She'd fulfill her obligation as coordinator and bridesmaid, but after that, they're done. After fielding Jason's calls and letting him know the situation, I went to the bathroom to see what Megan wanted to do. She promptly told me that it wasn't okay what I had told Angie. Oh my god. The truth? It wasn't okay that she told her the truth? It's not okay that she told Angie that I did not want to leave. Now she thinks I'm a bad partner and a bad person. I'm not like that. I asked if there was something I missed. I hadn't lied to Angie. She asked for an update and I told her the truth. How is that not okay? Felicity said that it was okay for me to stay. She wants me to have a night out, and she's fine. She sure did. Amazing how that became a thing suddenly. How does the narcissist prayer go? That didn't happen, and if it did, it wasn't that bad. And if it was, it wasn't a big deal. And if it is, that's not my fault. And if it was, I didn't mean it. And if I did, you deserved it. Checkbox 3. It was my fault that Angie was mad at her and ending their friendship. Oh my god. I also wouldn't apologize for telling Angie the truth, even if Felicity did say that it was alright that she stayed at the club, which I doubt. I didn't know she had. Even in that scenario, I did nothing wrong and wasn't going to apologize. After Megan had a few more phone conversations, Angie and Felicity respectively, we finally left the club and headed for Megan's house, where Felicity and Jason were. When we got there is when all hell broke loose. Megan stomped up to Felicity, and it was nearly an hour of her screaming and berating Felicity for making Megan look bad to Angie, because of course it was her fault that Megan looks bad. Wow. Not that she needed help. Jason and I both had no idea how to intervene in this or what Felicity wanted. I'm not proud of my behavior. Maybe if I were a better, stronger person in matters of emotion, I would have broken them up and told Megan to stop being a bitch and get this sorted out and tell Felicity she needs to speak for herself and stop taking this. I feel like my whole brain had gone into witness protection and was sending coded messages. Maybe pouring soothing oils in the eternal fire of my self-reflection and doubt. My rational brain was telling me that there was no point in trying to fly in and squash the argument like a hero because there was no way it ended like that. Megan would always find a way to make it not her fault and make herself the perfect victim, and everything would be better if everyone just did what she said. There is no winning with a narcissist. There are many times that I felt the world would be a nicer place if Megan had gotten the occasional slap, but it only would have made the world nicer for a few seconds and make my hand hurt. But my concern has also shifted from Felicity to her 10-year-old son. I have not mentioned him up until now for obvious reasons. Not wanting him to hear or see this blow up, Jason and I put him in Jason's car and kept him entertained. When Felicity came out for a breather, Jason and I both tried to give her some support. Told her that we'd take her anywhere she wanted to go, because this wasn't right that it was happening, and she had the right to her emotions, and she had done nothing wrong. We would take her anywhere if she wanted to pack her bags, and Jason would put her up in a hotel for as long as she needed. She instead decided to go back in and work it out. That feeling of helplessness still haunts me. Yeah, I kind of see where this is going, and I don't like it. Jason and I tried everything besides physically picking her up and putting her in the car, but I did put my number in her phone that night. When things finally quieted down, Jason and myself drove back to the venue with Angie on the phone with us as we tried to make sense of what just happened. All three of us were officially done. We would do what we said we were going to do, but beyond that, we were done with Megan. Jason was the most shocked as he lives out of state and had not seen Megan in person for years, and had just seen the mask slip in a major way. He was nearly in tears for some of the drive and was going to have a talk with Megan in the morning, give her away in the ceremony, and then take off for home. When we finally got to the cabin at the venue to finally turn in, everyone had settled down for the night, and I spent a good hour on my phone with my husband decompressing and unloading. He couldn't believe the level it all sunk to either, but at the same time, he wasn't surprised with Megan. Trust me, it was a wrench to not pack up my shit and just go home. But again, that would have left everything on Angie, and now on Jason as well. This is going to be where part 2, comes in. Because we are at the, and I can't fucking believe this this is where the story is going, the 40,000 character limit on Reddit. You can only post something up to 40,000 characters before you have to make a separate post, which makes sense. This isn't like a book writing place, it's just a social media, but that's how fucking long this is. So I'm going to keep my outro on this kind of brief because holy shit, we have so much more stuff to go through. We're not done. This is part 1. And from what I've heard, seriously, Megan's a fucking asshole. This is unfucking believable. Like, again, I won't know everything about their relationship. I don't know everything about polyamorous relationships in general. But I know you don't treat your partner like that. That is fucked. This is fucked up. And I'm pissed off. So, please come back for part 2. Do the whole thing. I just realized I've been recording for almost an hour on just this story alone. And, yeah. So, I'll see you guys in part 2. Usual YouTube outro, whatever. Check out Ko-Fi and all that kind of stuff. Links in the description. But, yeah, I'm going to go start recording part 2, like, right now. I'll see you in a bit.